we've talked about all the beautiful things that the budget can help us with and to make Scotland work better in terms of its nitrogen use efficiency. But I'm bringing you back down to earth on the data and how would you actually go about doing it. So a country budget approach, the boundaries are the country boundaries. You include all the flows entering and leaving the country, so bringing in food, bringing in feed, emissions going up into the air and travelling across somewhere else, air pollution coming in, depositing in Scotland, rivers bringing nitrogen out into the coastal zone, and all these internal flows as well, that you feed animals, you get manure, you feed people, you get sewage. And the way to do it is really combining a lot of observational data and modelling. So if you have lots of good data, you can pick the data and put them in the model and create a budget. And some things are less easy to measure and you need to model them. And you ideally want to calibrate and validate your models with good data again. But some parts of the nitrogen budget are more uncertain than others. And as I think Andrew said earlier, we don't know so much about some things. We know a lot about other things. So we can plug gaps with simple approaches. And of course, that then is an incentive for further research or further data gathering. But we just need to be aware of the uncertainties in our use of the budget as well. So we've seen this already. There's all these different parts of the system that we need to represent in the budget. And as Mark's already showed, we've done this as part of the European nitrogen assessment. That's the thin version. The big one weighs about 2 kilos. And they make these kind of budgets across Europe now using a system that was developed as part of the European nitrogen assessment. And you see there's lots of arrows there and different systems. So we've got our waters, we've got groundwater, surface water, coastal zones. We've got in the middle the terrestrial systems with soils, livestock, manures, feed, semi-natural systems. And we've got the waste, solid waste, sewage, consumers, not to forget transport and industry and energy, and of course the atmosphere as well. So we somehow need to quantify all these, and there are little numbers everywhere here. This was done by us with help from various other UK researchers and using a lot of government statistics and other sources to build a budget. And as Mark's already alluded, the data aren't always all there. So we had to piece it together. It says 1995 to 2008. So some data were from earlier periods, some data from later periods. And that was a quick stab at it. So to do it properly, you want to use data for the same period and then roll it forward in a few years' time and see if there's been any change. So we need to consider all these different systems: agriculture, ecosystems, surface, groundwaters, coastal zones, atmosphere, consumers, industry, transport, food, feed, import, export, waste and sewage. It's quite a lot of data behind all that. Oops, sorry. And all these systems have these different data flows associated with them. So we got fertilizer statistics, we know about excreta from animals, how much nitrogen is in those on average and under different systems and intensities, food and feed, import and export, there are government statistics for that, there are yield and production statistics. We have a national emission inventory and we calculate the position of nitrogen and also import and export of atmospheric and deposition. There's a nitrogen fixation, both industrial and the biological one. Again, we can look at the amount of clover and legumes and estimate the biological fixation, and from industry, from products, we can look at industrial nitrogen fixation. Discharges, there are lots of monitoring stations along rivers, and we have some data from SEPA on industrial discharges. There is diffuse emissions to water, nitrate leaching, which again can be modelled and also measured, and there are some good data on that. And there is denitrification, which is a bit more difficult to estimate. I think that's an understatement. So there's still work to do, and there's both terrestrial denitrification in the soils and also in the coastal waters. Did I just go the wrong way? Yes. So the tasks are, we need to review the literature, find any new data that we hadn't previously considered, talk to people, talk to farmers and representatives and farm advisors, as well as industry, food producers, consumers, update, collate new data as best as we can and quantify those flows and uncertainties, which then allow us to see where are the points that would be most effective and efficient to try and make a difference. And this example here just shows an estimate for Europe around 1900 and Europe around the year 2000, just to show how the system and the nitrogen has grown over that century. And what does it take to create a nitrogen budget? Yes, you can do one on the back of an envelope, which is very quick and cheap, but obviously there's a lot more uncertainty than if you do it properly. And if you really want to build policy on the information from a nitrogen budget, then you obviously need to have much better data, and you need to be sure about the quantification of your flows. And that's me, really.